Having a home is one thing, but when another holds ownership over that home, is it truly your home? Whether your landlord is a kind and benevolent leader, a greedy noble, or a bloodthirsty sheik, they have control over your life. It could all disappear in the blink of an eye. Thoughts such as these kept Hawks from enjoying restful sleep, from truly enjoying carefree times within the walls of Sanctuary. And when he shared his thoughts with the party, some others shared the same concerns. And so they began to gather building materials and went forth to identify a suitable location for a home. Byrne, being a smart skeleton, knew that they would need walls, buildings, means of making food and drinks, and he knew that all of this required research. And so he set up a small research space away from the hustle of town where he could focus. Here he spent his days researching the things we needed. He did seem more interested in playing with his hands, but who are we to judge his methods? The group wasted no time in identifying the perfect spot. After searching the landscape, they had found it. There was stone, water, iron, and copper, all the minerals they would need, and it wasn't too far from Sanctuary. There was also a nearby high village that they could trade with, and just look at that view. The beginnings of a new home bloomed up from the earth, but it was not long, and those who would rip it from us came around for a visit. Luckily, everyone was able to evacuate in time, and the cannibals slayed a herd of antelope while they were there. They didn't even bother to eat the animals. That suited us fine. They harvested the dearly departed bucks, selling their hide and horns to the market while saving their meat to sustain our citizens. Thanks to Byrne's research, they were also able to establish their first little green fruit farm. This was a big step towards becoming a self-sustaining community. But Byrne's knowledge would only help so much. We needed to find more ways to grow crops, to build bigger buildings, to build walls and other fortifications. And the only reliable place to find such knowledge were the ancient books found within the old ruins. It was time for Hawks and his team to go exploring. Beep joined the expedition party and off they went. Obedience had no ruins that they could enter. The only one there was guarded by powerful skeletons that had gone mad. Near the coast, however, our group found an ancient workshop that was sure to contain all sorts of valuable research material. But it too was filled with mad skeletons. The group decided that they were going to claim the contents of that ancient workshop no matter what. And so, for days, they lured some of the skeletons over and defeated them in combat. They also had to contend with the hounds that patrolled these lands. These hounds wanted nothing more but to feast on the corpses of our heroes. In the meantime, the group at home constructed the first building. It was nothing special, but it was a start. Home kept getting overrun by cannibals though, and everyone knew that we couldn't run forever. No, our heroes would have to stand and fight someday and drive off these cannibals for good. Okay, while I was filming this shot, Hotlongs decided to return to work and almost got eaten by cannibals. And while I was dealing with that, our expedition group got attacked by hyenas. They almost got eaten as well. Sorry for that little fourth wall break. But man, filming in Kenshi is no joke. After a hard-fought victory, the expedition team finally entered the workshop, but found no books. They did find valuable loot though, and it was time to seek out a town to trade with. They traveled for what felt like ages before they found a little flotsam ninjas village where they met Reva. They got to talking, and when Reva heard about home, she wanted in. She also brought her apprentices along, Zan, Blend, Fade, and Meow, who all wanted to get as far away from the tyranny of the holy nation as they possibly could. Meow wanted to make the best weapons the world had ever seen. She had been an avid smith since she was young, and would be a fine addition to the workforce of home. Reva mentioned that they could sell their loot at a nearby city called World's End, and so she led the way there. This town was stocked with the science books we needed. So we grabbed as many as we could and headed home to surprise Byrne with his books. He would be so happy. But first we met this crazy dude who talked about winged beak ogres. Definitely not a thing that exists. And another tech hunter told us about ruins in Berserker country. But best of all, we found 4 new recruits in World's End, who were all willing to join our town, for a small price of course. Plop, Zoo, Nay and Voth, more recruits were joining by the day, and we were really growing into a proper town. As the sun set over the familiar lands of Dreg, our expedition party made it home safely. With so many new faces, we could actually begin to flourish out here. And Byrne was excited about his books. Yay, books. While he got researching, the rest of the growing town put in a monumental effort to get things off the ground. Even in rain, no one stopped working and striving to build our forever home. They even set up power generation and built a cooking stove, and Kenshi was able to make his first meal for the group. It was a humble serving of cooked vegetables, and it was really bland and boring. But it was better than dirt, so no one complained. This wasn't exactly the kitchen of his dreams, but Kenshi was happy to be doing his part and filling the bellies of his friends. One thing was clear, everyone was working around the clock, and still they weren't getting all that much done. Home still needed more citizens. Even so, they managed to build majestic walls that offered protection from the outside world. And so, feeling confident that the town wouldn't fall to cannibals while he was gone, Hawks set off to find even more recruits. Despite the terrible loading times, he decided to go to the swamp. Here he met Mew. She, along with a couple of hivers and a skeleton, all wanted out of the swamp and were keen to come to Dreg with us. These two, Hobbs and Hans, overheard our chat and also wanted to come along. 6 new recruits in one town. How lucky. We all made it back home and took a nice group photo with Byrne's skeleton eye. The town was growing beyond what Hawks ever thought possible. He imagined a few houses and maybe a farm, but what they already had was a productive town that made its own things, that had walls and defenses. But these defenses were a double-edged sword. There was only one way in and one way out. Safer, maybe, but if cannibals broke through the gates, the townsfolk would be trapped. It would be an all-you-can-eat buffet. And so, everyone had to train and become fighters, capable of staving off any cannibal, bandit, or faction attack. Against men, against animals, our heroes trained their fighting skills. They became stronger every day. One day, a beast trader came to town, and our production allowed us to afford animals. We bought 2 baby Garus, Bob and Larry, and a bone doggy named Chilo. One day, they would be powerful pack animals that will allow us to trade with all of Kenshi, but for now, they were just freaking adorable. Our town even developed these amazing floating animal feeders. Is there no end to Byrne's genius? His genius further helped us to set up fabric looms and a leatherworking bench. Production was in full swing, and we'd soon have our own locally crafted armor. But with all the successes Home had experienced, none were as impressive as Kenshi's. His kitchen was pumping, and he was making so much delicious food that he regularly exported it to the local towns, who paid him a pretty penny. With all the money he was making, he decided it was time for his dream kitchen. And here it is, complete with tables, good food, sake production, and a little inn in the back. Everyone loved their new favorite hangout spot. Hawks oversaw the construction of a communal living area where the townsfolk could rest weary heads. Power demands went up, and so did our power generation capacity. Byrne developed smaller, more efficient windmills, allowing Saru to establish an armor crafting bench. Meow established her weapon workshop too, and the town was booming. But at the back of everyone's minds was the looming cannibal threat. You see, the town still needed money to afford bigger and better things. They could make money if they established shops and opened trade with the outsiders. But that would mean opening the gates. That would mean opening the town to direct cannibal attacks. Attracting outsiders and then letting them get eaten by cannibals wouldn't reflect well on Dreg's tourism efforts. And so the townsfolk had to solve this cannibal problem and deal with Canhead's constant raids. Byrne built mounted crossbows and showed his fellow skeletons how to use them. Saru built armor and soldiers trained. No more running, no more hiding. It ends here. We will stand and fight and win. It ends now. The cannibals came, and Hawks and a group of hired mercenaries sallied out to distract part of their forces. The fighting was intense. Hotlongs took an arrow to the back from our new mounted crossbow guards. They really need to work on their aim. Some cannibals got into the town, including the mighty Canhead himself. And while he put up an almighty fight, our men were brimming with steely determination. This was our home, and evil would not triumph here today. Finally, they downed him. They stripped him of his belongings and stuck him in a cage. And after that, the stragglers were easy to take care of. Given this momentous victory, a new confidence was instilled in the little town of Home. News spread, and 2 shopkeepers showed up out of the blue, asking for Hawks' blessing to open their shops here. They had braved the dangerous wastes of Dreg to live free, and Hawks could not deny them the chance. Welcome aboard, Stint, crazy eyes and all. And welcome to Tengu, who has no relation to that snob of an emperor from the United Cities. While everyone pitched in to build the shops, more cannibals attacked. But with their mighty Canhead imprisoned, they were easy to take care of. Finally, the shops were complete. Tengu took over the general trading store, selling a variety of necessary goods to the citizens and outsiders alike. He even had a bedroom on the 2nd floor. It was a really nice setup. Stint took over the bar, which would provide food and a source of entertainment to both citizens and outsiders. It was glorious. The 2nd floor was a full-blown inn, complete with private rooms and toilets. Home now had weapon production, armor production, thriving farms and cooks, bars and shops. We had truly built a home that was more than worth fighting for. It was worth dying for. But not everyone in town shared the same zeal. Dying was not an optimal outcome for most. And so, to truly offer a safe haven from the threats of the outside world, we would need to raise an army. An army that could withstand any cannibal attack and keep our townsfolk safe. And Hawks, being well versed in the way of charisma and paying people in return for their services, was just the man to do it. Soon, Home wouldn't be just another lost town in a dying world. It would be the most formidable military power in all of Dreg. A nice sentiment, sure, but Hawks wasn't even sure if he could lead an army. At the end of the day, there is only one way to find out.